Welcome to Haunting Stories. Scary stories await you. Have fun and enjoy yourself.
Title: The Midnight Drive. The road was a ribbon of darkness cutting through the countryside, flanked by towering trees that seemed to lean in, casting elongated shadows across the asphalt. It was the kind of night where the sky was pitch black, devoid of stars, and the moon played hide-and-seek behind thick, swirling clouds. I gripped the wheel, knuckles white against the leather, trying to push away the unease creeping into my mind. The radio crackled sporadically, emitting snippets of static-filled music that only added to the eerie ambience. I adjusted the volume, seeking solace in the familiar tunes, attempting to distract myself from the solitude of the road. The occasional flicker of the dashboard lights illuminated the interior of the car, revealing the beads of sweat forming on my forehead. I'd chosen this route to save time, a shortcut through an unfamiliar stretch of countryside. The GPS signal had faded miles ago, leaving me to rely on my instincts and the unreliable road signs. With each passing mile, the surroundings grew more desolate, the dense forest closing in around me. Then, a sensation, subtle at first, crept over me. An inexplicable feeling that I wasn't alone. I glanced at the rearview mirror, half expecting to catch a glimpse of something lurking in the darkness behind. But there was nothing, just the emptiness of the road fading into the night. My unease grew as the road twisted and turned, leading me deeper into the heart of the wilderness. Shadows danced on the periphery of my vision, shapes that seemed to flit away whenever I tried to focus on them. It was as though the forest itself was alive, watching, waiting. A glint of reflected light ahead caught my eye. Braking instinctively, I peered through the windshield. A figure stood in the middle of the road, partially obscured by the mist that had rolled in, its form indistinct and wavering like a mirage. Heart pounding, I slowed the car to a crawl, my foot hovering over the brake pedal. As I approached, the figure became clearer. A person, their face hidden in the shadows of a hooded coat, unmoving despite the oncoming vehicle. I swerved to avoid them, my heart lodged in my throat, expecting the sickening thud of impact. But as I passed, there was nothing. No impact, no sound, just the unsettling sensation of passing through something intangible. I dared a glance in the rearview mirror, only to find the figure now standing behind the car, fading into the mist. A chill crawled up my spine, and I pressed harder on the gas, desperate to leave the unsettling sight behind. Miles flew by, but the feeling of being watched lingered, intensifying with each passing moment. The forest seemed to press closer, the trees leaning in as if to block my escape. Panic clawed at the edges of my mind, urging me to flee to find civilization. Then, a deafening silence fell, the car's engine sputtering before dying altogether. My heart raced as I coasted to a stop, surrounded by an oppressive stillness broken only by the whisper of wind through the trees. I fumbled for my phone, fingers trembling as I tried to dial for help. But there was no signal, no bars, just a blank screen mocking my desperation. I was utterly alone, stranded in the heart of this desolate landscape. A rustling sound echoed from the forest, growing louder and closer, accompanied by the hollow echo of footsteps on the asphalt. Paralyzed with fear, I turned slowly, expecting to confront the figure from before. Instead, I was met with emptiness, a road stretching endlessly into the night, devoid of life or movement. But the rustling persisted, now coming from all sides, encircling the car. Then, a voice, a haunting whisper that seemed to seep through the cracks of reality itself, chilling me to the bone. "Lost souls wander these woods," it murmured, sending shivers down my spine. With trembling hands, I restarted the car, the engine roaring to life. I didn't spare a second and slammed my foot on the accelerator, desperate to escape the unseen horrors lurking in the darkness. The road twisted and turned, a maze leading me deeper into the heart of this spectral wilderness. And as the night wore on, the haunting whispers lingered, a reminder that some roads should never be traveled alone, especially at midnight. Title: the unseen peril. The wilderness beckoned with promises of serenity and escape. Nestled between ancient trees and beside a glistening lake, our camping spot seemed like paradise found. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting an amber glow across the landscape as we set up our tents, eager for a weekend of camaraderie and nature's embrace. As night fell, the crackling fire provided the only source of warmth and light. Shadows danced on the trees, their branches swaying in an unseen rhythm. We laughed and joked, the crackling flames momentarily easing the tension that always accompanies the unfamiliarity of the woods at night. But as the fire dwindled, a palpable unease settled among us. The forest seemed to hold its breath, the sounds of rustling leaves and distant howls of wildlife now feeling more ominous than comforting. A feeling of being watched haunted our campsite. Every snap of a twig or distant hoot of an owl sent shivers down our spines. We tried to dismiss our unease as mere nerves, the result of overactive imaginations fueled by ghost stories and the unfamiliar setting. It was when one of us, Laura, went to use the restroom that things took a chilling turn. She vanished into the darkness, her flashlight beam disappearing among the trees. Minutes stretched into an agonizing eternity, and our calls for her went unanswered. Panic surged through us, and we armed ourselves with flashlights and determination to find her. We ventured into the woods, our beams cutting through the thick underbrush, calling her name in a desperate chorus that echoed through the trees. The forest seemed to swallow our cries, muffling them in its oppressive silence. Each step felt heavier, laden with an inexplicable dread that hung thick in the air. As we delved deeper, the trees closed in around us, twisting and distorting our perception of direction. Suddenly, a piercing scream tore through the night, sending a shockwave of terror through our veins. It was Laura's voice, filled with terror and agony, a plea for help that chilled us to the core. Heartbeats thundering in our ears, we sprinted toward the source of the scream, heedless of the branches scratching our faces and the roots threatening to trip us. But as quickly as the scream had come, it faded into an eerie silence, leaving only the echo of our own panicked breaths. We stumbled into a small clearing, our flashlights darting frantically in every direction. And there, in the flickering light, we saw Laura. She stood motionless at the edge of the clearing, her eyes wide and unseeing, staring into the darkness. We called out to her, but she remained unresponsive, as if she were trapped in a trance. As we approached, a cold realization dawned upon us. There was something in the shadows, a presence that seemed to envelop her, unseen and unfathomable. We reached out to grab her, to pull her back to safety, but an unseen force repelled us, pushing us back with an inexplicable power. Laura's vacant eyes met mine for a fleeting moment, a silent plea etched within them, before she turned and vanished into the darkness, swallowed by the unknown. We staggered back to the campsite, shaken to the core, our minds grappling with the inexplicable events. The night stretched on, each minute feeling like an eternity, filled with a haunting silence that echoed the loss and the lurking terror in the woods. Morning broke, casting a feeble light upon the campsite, but Laura was nowhere to be found. We packed our belongings in a haze of disbelief, haunted by the events of that horrific night. To this day, I can't shake the feeling of being watched, nor the chilling memory of our friend's disappearance into the unseen peril that lurked within those woods. A reminder that sometimes, the true horrors lie hidden in the heart of nature's embrace.
Thank you for joining us on this chilling journey through the unknown. If you enjoyed this spine-tingling tale, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. Your support fuels our passion to unearth more terrifying stories. Stay tuned for more bone-chilling content, and until next time, may your nights be filled with thrilling nightmares. Subscribe, like, and embrace the darkness with us.